Disturbing crime secrets exposed by Undercover FBI. Did you know some of the world's most dangerous criminals operated undetected for years? Until an undercover FBI agent walked right into their inner circle? They gained their trust, shared their secrets, and then struck. But the secrets they uncovered are darker than anyone imagined. Before we move further into this chilling descent into the criminal underworld, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the truth. Unfiltered, uncensored, and dangerously real. It begins with a name, a code name, a file slipped across a desk in a dimly lit FBI briefing room. A whisper in the shadows of a case, too dangerous for daylight. The life of an undercover FBI agent doesn't begin with glory. It begins with silence, with sacrifice, and with a single question. How far would you go to destroy evil without becoming it? These agents don't wear badges. They wear lies. They don't arrest you. They earn your trust until you hand them the noose yourself. And while the movies show high-speed chases, shootouts, and Hollywood swagger, the real story is darker. Much darker. It's about loneliness. Terror. The kind that keeps you awake at night even when you know the mission is over. Undercover FBI operations have become one of the most effective tools in America's fight against organized crime. But what they uncover will chill you to the bone. The FBI doesn't just deal with bank robbers or drug dealers. No, they go deeper, into places where children are trafficked like merchandise, where politicians shake hands with killers, where billion-dollar empires are built on blood and secrets. To take these syndicates down, the Bureau created specialized units, teams trained not just in surveillance or firearms, but in human psychology. These agents become ghosts. They vanish from their real lives and reappear as someone else. Someone the criminals would welcome into their circle. They infiltrate with false identities, forged backstories, and new passports. They memorize entire lifetimes that don't exist. They spend weeks, months, sometimes years convincing the most paranoid criminals that they belong. And when the trust is earned, the unraveling begins. Each secret pulled from the shadows is a ticking time bomb. A name, a date, a location, evidence that can destroy criminal empires, if the agent survives long enough to bring it back. But the deeper they go, the harder it becomes to tell truth from fiction. Some agents report forgetting who they really are. They form relationships, real ones. They hold hands with monsters. They drink with murderers. They laugh with traffickers. They live among them. And when the job is done, they don't get applause. They get pulled out debriefed and buried under the weight of what they saw. Most can't sleep for months. Some never return to the field. Others don't return at all. You see, the real cost of justice isn't in bullets or lawsuits. It's in souls. And in this story, we're peeling back the layers of the most disturbing undercover missions the FBI has ever launched. What you'll hear next has never been spoken aloud in courtrooms or press briefings. Because in the shadows, truth is a weapon. To go undercover is to surrender your life, to walk into a den of killers pretending to be one of them. It's not just dangerous, it's deadly. And most don't make it out the same. If at all. It starts with a choice. You get the assignment.
A criminal organization has slipped through every net the Bureau has thrown at them. No paper trail, no fingerprints, no wiretap gets close. The only way in is through you.
The agent nods. But inside, the fear is deafening. Because he knows there's no coming back from this clean. The agent must become someone else. Not just on paper. He must become a criminal. He learns his new name, his cover story. Every lie is memorized until it feels like truth. I'm Daniel Rourke. I move heroin from the Gulf through safe houses in Miami. My brother got popped last year. I trust no one. I kill without hesitation. That's not his story, but it has to be. He practices it in front of a mirror, over and over, until his voice no longer shakes. Because the first rule of going undercover?
If they see doubt, you're dead.
Most people break under pressure, but undercover agents live inside the pressure. Imagine waking up every morning and remembering you don't exist. Your wife can't call you. Your kids don't know where you are. You're surrounded by killers. Every single day. You must drink with them. Eat with them. You're at a barbecue with gangsters who chopped up a rival the night before. They joke. You laugh. Because you have to. But inside, you're dying. Not from fear, but from pretending not to care. And every now and then, you forget what your real name is. That's not metaphor. That's fact. Some agents report going home after missions and responding to the fake name when someone says dad or honey. They've played the role so long. They don't know where the role ends and the real person begins. The training isn't enough. The FBI trains these agents for years. Combat, deception, interrogation resistance, language, cultural immersion, criminal behavior. But training can only go so far. Because when a cartel boss puts a loaded gun on the table during dinner, nothing prepares you for that moment. When you're asked to prove yourself. When you're forced to beat someone senseless to avoid suspicion. When they want you to kill a man to earn your place. What do? Most think they can avoid that moment. That they'll gather their intel and get out clean. But in the real world, criminals are paranoid. They test you. One agent, let's call him Alex, was embedded in a militia-based trafficking ring. 6 months into the mission, he was ordered to shoot a man accused of snitching. Alex stalled. He hesitated. They noticed. So they gave him the gun and told the snitch, if you kill Alex, you live. Alex escaped by convincing the ring leader it was a test he saw coming. He earned praise for playing the game. But in his private journal later, he wrote, I could feel the trigger. My brain said no, but my body was shaking to yes. I think I could have done it. And that scares me more than anything else. Every day is a coin toss. The FBI can't just pull you out when it gets tense. You're inside until there's a case. That could be weeks or years. Some agents spend birthdays alone in motels under surveillance. Some go months without direct contact from handlers. Radio silence isn't rare. It's standard. And sometimes, agents vanish. One undercover officer embedded in a narcotics ring in the Pacific Northwest simply disappeared. No distress call. No contact. To this day, he's never been found. They suspect the cartel discovered his identity. But there's no body, no confirmation, only silence.
It's deadly.
Secrets within secrets. Undercover operations often include layers of secrecy. Even other law enforcement agencies may not know there's an agent in play. That's by design, to protect the mission. But that also means, if something goes wrong, no one knows to help. One agent embedded in a white-collar laundering ring was accidentally arrested by a city SWAT team during a sweep. His FBI handler wasn't alerted in time. The arrest was broadcast live. His face shone across the country. Within 24 hours, his family was moved into protective custody, and a hit was placed on his head. That agent lives under a new identity now. He can never go back. There's one question that haunts every undercover agent. What if I go too far? Because when you live among criminals long enough, you start to understand them. Some agents empathize. Some begin to justify. Some turn. It's rare, but it happens. One FBI agent, after 2 years in a financial fraud ring, vanished with $4.6 million in Bitcoin. He was caught 6 months later in Dubai, pretending to be the criminal he once infiltrated. When questioned, he said, "I was tired of lying for the government. I figured I may as well lie for myself." Collateral damage. Families suffer too. Wives and husbands live with uncertainty. Children grow up not knowing where their parent is, or why they're never home. One agent's cover was blown during a meth operation. The cartel couldn't get to him, so they went after his family. His wife barely survived the car bombing. His 8-year-old daughter did not. The agent spiraled. He left the bureau, and later took his own life. These stories aren't in the press releases. They're not celebrated. They're buried. Because the pain? It's too much to glorify. Why they still do it? So why do they do it? Why take on this life? Because sometimes only they can make the difference. Undercover agents have brought down entire mafia families. They've dismantled human trafficking empires. They've stopped terrorist plots in motion. They've stared monsters in the eyes and said, "Yeah, I'm one of you," and then turned around and burned their empire to ash. They do it for justice, for victims, for the idea that even in the darkest place, someone can shine a light. But make no mistake, that light comes at a cost, and that cost is the very soul of the person who carries it. This is just the beginning. Next, we go deeper into actual undercover cases, where lives were risked, secrets uncovered, and entire crime syndicates were crushed from within. What happens when one person walks into a world of monsters and pretends to be one of them? These are the operations where lies saved lives and secrets were shattered. Operation Black Phoenix, the Cartel Brotherhood. Deep in the jungles of Sinaloa, Mexico, an FBI agent known only as Rico infiltrated one of the deadliest cartels in the Western Hemisphere. His mission? Pose as a disgraced DEA pilot turned freelance smuggler, gain access to the cartel's inner circle, expose their U.S. distribution network. He was fluent in Spanish, had a scar over his left eye from a staged knife fight, and his cover identity? Bulletproof. But even bulletproof men bleed. Within 72 hours, he was brought to a test site, a remote clearing where new recruits proved loyalty by running logistics under pressure. His first job? Transport 300 kilos of fentanyl across a guarded border path, while being tailed by real drug mules with AKs. He did it, but the real test came after. A cartel enforcer pulled him aside, looked him in the eye, and said,
"My cousin was DEA. You know what I did to him?" Rico didn't blink. He smiled and replied, "Same thing I do if someone crossed my family."
That moment earned him a seat at the cartel leader's table. For 2 years, Rico lived as a cartel insider. He organized drug routes, moved cash, even survived a cartel purge where half the leadership was executed in a forest clearing. Behind the scenes, he wore a wire, and when the moment was right, he delivered coordinates, names, and storage unit numbers. The result? Over 67 cartel members arrested, 4 kingpins extradited, $430 million in assets seized. But Rico didn't celebrate, because while his operation succeeded, he left behind people he learned to call brother. And he knew the line between agent and traitor was razor thin. Operation Cross Thread, the neo-Nazi bio-weapon plot. In a sleepy town in Montana, a storm was brewing. The FBI caught whispers of a domestic terror group, self-labeled as the Sons of Cinder, planning a mass bioweapon release. They needed eyes inside. Enter Agent Mira Daniels, a scientist by training, an agent by blood. She posed as a disillusioned virologist who lost her job at a government lab. Online forums led her to encrypted chats. Chats led to a compound. She was invited to join. They tested her knowledge, her loyalty. She passed, too easily. Within weeks, She was part of the inner ring. What she uncovered, terrifying. They were cultivating an anthrax variant, purified, weaponized, and planning to disperse it across multiple urban subway systems. Her days were spent mixing compounds. Her nights? Secretly recording formulas and schedules. One day, they brought in a test subject, a stray dog, starved and sick. Mira had to inject the pathogen. She hesitated, then did it, tears rolling down her cheek. That footage was never shown to the public, but it made its way to the CDC, who confirmed this was a national-level bioterror event in the making. The takedown was surgical. SWAT teams raided the compound. 14 arrests. 3 scientists charged with terrorism. All biological material confiscated. Mira never returned to field duty. She now teaches ethics in federal law enforcement. But she told her handler once, "For 6 months, I played God, and I'll never forgive myself for how easy it became." Operation Marrow, the corporate killer club. Not all crimes involve drugs or guns. Some wear suits and toast champagne after murder. In Manhattan, whispers circulated about a group of executives who eliminated rivals using hired killers, hidden behind legitimate business deals. They called it the club. Membership required one thing: proof that you had someone eliminated. It sounded like urban legend, until an undercover agent embedded herself in a private hedge fund. Agent Noelle Park, MBA from Wharton, FBI asset with 5 years in cybercrime. She started low, data entry, worked her way up. Over 2 years, she gained the trust of an exec known as the broker. He had connections and a taste for death. Through casual lunch meetings and late-night drinks, he let things slip. "You know how we closed that deal? Let's just say the other party stopped breathing." Noelle recorded everything. Eventually, she was invited to a gathering. 12 people. Private villa. Champagne. Caviar. A slideshow of portfolio wins. Each one ending with a black and white obituary. It was a murder club. Real. And thriving. She left that night with 2 flash drives. And a decision: wait longer to get more, or act now and stop it. She chose to act. The FBI raided the next quarterly meeting. 9 arrested, 3 dead in a shootout, 1 missing. The missing one? The broker. To this day, he's never been found. But every year, Agent Park gets a letter. Just 2 words. Still watching. Operation Ghost Thread. The deep web child predator ring. This one haunts even the toughest agents. FBI agent Malik Rivera spent 18 months posing as a darknet trafficker. His goal? Infiltrate the largest known child exploitation ring on the deep web. He had to create a fake profile, share doctored files, and build reputation in one of the darkest places online. He became known as Silk Hammer, a broker of nightmares. Every day, he woke up and read horrors most people could never imagine. Every night, he logged evidence, captured IP chains, tracked crypto wallets. He traced files to a server farm in Eastern Europe, and a private clubhouse in Nevada, a ranch where victims were brought, recorded, and sold. The FBI had what they needed. They moved in. 23 arrests. For international extraditions. 58 children rescued. But Rivera couldn't sleep. He saw too much, pretended too long. He testified in court against monsters, calmly, but broke down in private. He said later in a recorded interview, "There's a part of my soul I'll never get back. I wore the devil's mask, and it started to feel like skin." He now works in victim advocacy, but says he still hears the voices in his dreams. Operation Leviathan, the international smuggling network. It started with missing persons in coastal towns, ended with a global smuggling syndicate that spanned 4 continents. FBI agent Jason Kwame went undercover as a maritime engineer, boarding ships flagged under shell corporations. His job? Map the routes, find the patterns, follow the slaves. These weren't just drugs. This was human cargo. Women, children, sometimes entire families, trapped in containers. Kwame spent weeks at sea, surrounded by mercenaries and ex-military. One slip, he'd be tossed overboard and vanish without a trace. He smuggled in a tracking device, logged coordinates of transfers, even secretly filmed exchanges with buyers on private islands. At one point, he was forced to participate in an auction to maintain his cover. He stood frozen, while a girl barely 15 was presented. He did nothing because he had to, but when the bust came, he made sure she was rescued first. 107 arrests. Interpol involved. 8 cargo ships seized. 320 victims freed. Kwame was honored with the FBI Medal of Valor. But when asked if he'd do it again, he paused and said, "Only if I never have to look that girl in the eyes again." These cases are just a glimpse into what undercover FBI agents face every day. Each one faced death. Each one lived a lie. Each one crossed lines that blurred morality, ethics, and identity. But because of their actions, lives were saved, networks dismantled, monsters caged. And the cost? Their peace, their sleep, sometimes their sanity. But they chose to go in anyway, because someone had to. Sometimes, an undercover mission reaches a moment when everything, months of lies, years of training, hangs on one breath, one heartbeat, one decision. This is the story of Agent Cole Maddox, an elite FBI operative, known internally as Shadow 17. He had infiltrated the Crimson Triad, a covert arms-dealing syndicate that specialized in dirty bombs, biological warfare, and black-market military tech. For 18 months, he wasn't Cole Maddox. He was Victor Drajan, a mercenary for hire with a bloody past and a talent for disappearing. It started with chatter from intercepted satellite phones. The shipment is active. The buyer has confirmed. Leviathan is loose. That phrase, Leviathan, rang alarms in Quantico. It was a code name linked to experimental tech, once rumored to exist in the Pentagon's black files. A man-portable nuclear device, small enough to fit in a duffel bag, deadly enough to wipe out half a city. Maddox had already secured the trust of Triad enforcers. But now, he had to rise fast, or miss the deal. His way in? Volunteering to escort the buyer. The exchange was set to happen in a rented warehouse in Detroit, not far from a chemical plant. If the bomb went off, half the east side of the city would become a radioactive crater. Maddox's orders were clear. Confirm the weapon. Stall. Signal the strike team. What no one expected was who the buyer was. He arrived in a black SUV. Well-dressed. Calm. American. A U.S. congressman's chief of staff. "This is bigger than an arms deal," Maddox whispered into his wire. "This is political." And suddenly, everything changed. 10 minutes into the meeting, Maddox noticed something. One of the Triad guards, a man he thought he'd won over, was watching him too closely. Then the signal came through Maddox's earpiece, encrypted and cold. "Abort! You've been made." He didn't blink, didn't move, because if he walked out now, he'd die. But if he stayed, he might stop the unthinkable. He leaned in toward the buyer and said, "Before you pay, you need proof. Let me arm it. You'll hear the hum." That was his stall. Buy time. Delay the handoff. The buyer agreed. Maddox approached the device, a sleek silver case on a rolling cart. He knew what to look for, and it was real. Plutonium core. Trigger assembly. The bomb was live. He could disable it, but not without tipping them off. So he reached into his jacket and touched the emergency signal beacon sewn into his inner lining. 2 taps. Pause. 1 tap. It would trigger a silent alert. He had 5 minutes. Outside, 47 federal agents were mobilizing. Inside, Maddox was outnumbered 12-1. The Triad guard who had been watching him finally stepped forward. Victor,
Who are you? What's your name?
It's deadly.
tell me, who do you really work for? Everything froze. Maddox smiled and said, the highest bidder, like you. But the guard pulled a gun and muttered, no one smiles at death, unless they're not afraid of it. Suddenly, the lights cut. The backup team had jammed the power, and chaos exploded. Gunfire, screams, shadows leaping across crates. Maddox dove behind the bomb cart, bullets ricocheting inches from his face. He yanked the casing open, reached for the failsafe. The buyer was gone, escaped into the shadows. Maddox had 60 seconds before the Triad tried to run, or worse, activate the bomb. He cut the ignition wire, then snapped the satellite receiver. The bomb whined, then went silent. He stood, hands raised, and shouted, the device is dead. You've lost. The Triad guard aimed his gun. Maddox closed his eyes. But before the trigger was pulled, a single shot echoed. The guard dropped. The strike team was in. 12 agents stormed the warehouse. 3 Triad members resisted. 2 were killed. 1 was wounded. Maddox stood in the middle, trembling, sweat-drenched, blood on his cheek. The buyer, the chief of staff, had vanished. But Maddox's audio logs led to an arrest days later. It wasn't just one staffer. It was a network, operating out of Capitol Hill. They planned to detonate the device, blame a foreign actor, and push for war. The operation was called False Flame. Congress was never the same again. Maddox's face was never made public. But inside the Bureau, he became a legend. 1 agent. 1 lie. 1 decision that saved millions. Sometimes, heroes don't wear badges on their chest. They wear lies on their face, and pain in their silence. Undercover FBI agents walk a razor's edge between life and death, justice and deception. Their courage is hidden behind false names, silent alarms, and the haunting knowledge that one mistake could cost everything. From dismantling violent cartels to stopping catastrophic attacks, these unsung heroes reveal that evil can lurk anywhere, even behind polished doors of power. But thanks to their relentless sacrifice, countless lives have been saved. This isn't just about crime. It's about conviction, courage, and the unyielding pursuit of truth, no matter how dark the shadows get. If this story gripped you, imagine what else is lurking in the shadows. What do you think about the risks undercover agents take? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you're hungry for more true crime thrillers, hit like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Because the next story might just blow your mind. This is True Crime Uncensored, where no secret stays buried forever.